I am quite happy with it though. Let's try second gear. Hello again, my RC friends. It's the BRX02, and finally we're at a stage where this thing can get rolling. Finally. Do you know I started this in June 2022? That's like nearly a year. What? Let me show you. Welcome back to what is possibly the slowest BRX02 build in recorded human history. This is, I think, believe it or not, part 5. Where we're up to, I think the last video was 3 months ago. We've got the chassis, transmission, transfer case, transmission, motor's not in yet. Every time I come back I've got a different servo motor and ESC sitting here. I actually thought I might even give this thing a dedicated radio, because then I can let other people drive this car as well. Also, in a previous video I told you about this leaf spring being not straight. This can be rectified with, I think you'd use propane, a propane torch. Heat it just till it dully glows, and then you could bend it how you like. As soon as the Boom Racing guys heard about this is AGTs, they immediately offered to send me a replacement. I didn't even tell them about it, they just picked it up from my video. Thank you guys, thank you Jason and friends, but I'm happy just to leave this in. It'll be okay. It adds a little bit of charm and character to this model. So, today we continue with the leaf spring system, and we are getting our anti-wrap bars installed and the rest of the components, and we are going to try and get as much done as possible here because I've left this entirely too long. AGTs have been very patient with me, but really I owe it to you guys and even to this lovely kit to get the thing finished. So let's do our best. I won't do another video like this where we've got another series like this where we've got blow by blow. Usually I fast forward a lot of this stuff in my videos, and in fact you can see my 6x6 build we've done in the past as well. I actually did most of that off camera. Now I just wanted to make sure we had the right size screws and identify what I'm doing here. These gorgeous spacers. I love these little spacers, they're very cool. Oh, I see, and C, which is this bag here. Alright, so these are springs from previous steps, which we may still need. Okay, that's bag C. We might pop these out too. Now I know some of you guys are going to build from a big pile, and others will organise like I organise. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I personally can think more clearly when I've got everything kind of just set where it needs to be. Now you'll see from this bag it says 8 of those nylocks, and there's no mention of the smaller ones, but there are a couple of smaller size ones and some smaller diameter screws. They're not mentioned here, so I've just put them together, assuming we're going to hit them on a subsequent page. See, we've still got screws from A and B all the way along here, so that stuff's still sitting there waiting. I expect we'll come to this little pair of small diameter screws at some point. Thought it might be for the box. Yep, there we are. So all the way on page 43 is those guys, and we're on page 29. So okay, so I think we have a fair picture. Let's go from the front to the rear. Invert, and it's the M3x8, and these are left and right oriented, or not. Bigger hole on one side, yes there is, and the bigger hole goes on the inside. There, that's the orientation. Now of course, since the last video, Boom Racing has released the Series 3, which is very worth looking at. It's the BRX02 with the Series 3 Defender body. It's the one with the recessed radiator grille. Very cool. And we need M3 nuts. we need the nylon spacers, we've got 2 of them, and we need 2 of these fellas. Yeah, that'll do. Very good. Now, this goes from the inside. Oh, I see. Spacer wants to go on the inside because the width of this thing is a little bit broad. Okay, fair enough. And even when it's done up tight, there's still a bit of movement, so that works. Okay, next is these fellas. We'll take them both, left and right. Now we're going to need those on the rear side and no, on the front side. And the 18.5s go on the front. There are 4 holes under here, and they're using the front and the third. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 3, not 2 and 4. 1 and 3. And also the way these are aligned is they both go together like that. So they get bolted in incidentally. And the fold goes on the outside. And it goes up and over the chassis, so we're going up and over the chassis. Which means that is the alignment, just like that, which is in line with the actual rail, so that's what you want. Now the front has the longer one that goes straight in, and so there's straight in, it goes right through hole number 1. I'm just going to put the second one through so that this holds up where I want it to. In fact, we might just put that nut on first. I think putting the rear one on first might actually be easier. It's been a while since I've worked with this, as you know. It's nice to be back working on it. It's really, really nice hardware. You don't need to go crazy with doing these up. We might do the other side while it's fresh. It goes on the outside and folds in, so that's the alignment. Like that. We might put the rear one on first. I think that was actually the easiest one to do. And that goes in hole number 3. Okay, that's in. Now we need to do the front ones, which have the spacer like so. Sorry, losing a shoe. Now we've got long and short. A is short, B is long, and they face rearward. And the broad side goes against the spacer by the look of it. Not that it really matters, honestly. And then the nut will go against that. Yep. I don't know that that's actually touching the nylon. This screw could be a mil longer. I don't know how common 23 mils are, but it's not actually. It is. It's just barely touching the nylon. More appropriately, with this length screw, you'd want to use a thinner screw that doesn't have the nylock on it and just use a dab of thread lock. I think that actually would be superior, but I also don't think this is going to come off if you do it up tightly. You don't need to go bananas with those things. You just, often with nylocks, you just snug them. With this one, because it's barely touching the nylon, I'd probably go a little bit more aggressively tight on it, because I'm not putting a dab of nylock, a dab of thread lock on there. Okay, now we've done that. Now we're up to the rear ones. And the large hole goes on the inside and the spacer goes on the outside. Now, holes just past, oh, it's these little bumps. That's good. Man, these frames nice. I've forgotten how nice now, and these things face forward. It wouldn't really matter if you got them back to front, but consistency is nice as well. Okay, so 2 of them. We need our spacers, and we need some nuts. Sweet. That goes on to one part. This fella goes on. This fella goes on. That's funny. Alright, we're going to put that like that. Stick the next one in. Alright, now the hard piece goes against, and it's fin upward. Yep, there we go. Alright, look at this. Good. Alright. It goes aside. Now, so this is actually something I like, these plastic retainers. There's a trend in the cheaper shock manufacturing, a tendency for them to put these kind of press stud brass cups and then the ball ends go inside, and the brass often falls out after a bit of time, and that's just no good. Using plastic here is just going to ensure these last a lot longer. You really only need it to be half full, and they say don't go more than 3/4, and you won't get what's called a compression blockage. What you do is you shut it, you push it in all the way, and then you do the top up. You could use thread lock on this, but you shouldn't need to, because there is also the rubber cylinder seal, which should prevent these from coming undone. Now you know you've done it correctly if, once you've done it, it doesn't push open. If you've got it wrong, when you press it in and it instantly wants to kind of go like that, you've done it wrong. But if you can go all the way in and she just sits there, then you're right. That little bit coming out is from the last little bit when it was done up. The air that was in there couldn't escape. So what you can do is open it, nearly do it up all the way, and just wait a little bit longer between doing it up, and that lets whatever air is being compressed, it lets it escape, and that's the best I can do. And now it doesn't come out anymore, you see. So that's the trick to get that last little bit right. Oh look, it still does it. It's possible also you get some air coming in this way. I don't know. Look, it's just a toy, but that's how I do shocks. I mean, that's how it says to do it too, so hooray. Okay, so there's a little tiny notch in the top there, and it's only on one side of both of these. And that matches with that fella. There's a little tiny notch somewhere apparently. There. So we line up the notch. That's how it stays. Fair enough. Okay, so here is where we're up to. We have a completed chassis. I've gone with, after so many changes, after so many months of developing this, we've got a 20-turn 5-pole. Now a 5-pole motor, it's a lot smoother than a 3-pole. A 20-turn is going to be somewhat equivalent to maybe a 50-turn 540. Very smooth, low speed. And because we have such a slick 2-speed transmission, I thought this might be just the thing to pair with it. I don't need some high power brushless thing. I'll save those systems for other machines. Now we've got the Tiken BXR element proof. It's got a 5 volt 3.7 amp BEC, which will be okay. This is a low voltage servo I'm using, 4.8 to 6 volts, so 5 is fine. These guys, that's undervolted, which is also fine. There's your ESC right there. Waterproof. It has an interesting LED display on it too. I'll show you that in a sec. And active drag brake, which is one thing that's spoken well of by many. Now, installation of wiring, I didn't quite do it the way they suggest. They've got these little screw holes here, partly because they want you to put the wires through it and then you use the little attachment thing to go over it. I prefer them to be inside, so that's what I've done. We've got our power here for the battery. I've got an on-off switch and a radio inside there, which is densely populated because we have steering, throttle, 2-speed, and then we've got a drag brake control, which on a GT5 I've stuck on channel 6, so you can change that profile for drag brake. And I think that was all, so we're using 4 channels. I've assembled the wheels and tyres, so we might just get them on real quick. And the last thing I have to do is the winch, muscle winch, which will go somewhere. I haven't worked out where I've got to put that yet. We'll get to that. And then I think we'll be ready to do the body, which is exciting. But first we're going to Maiden this thing today on this video. So while I do this, I'll show you a fast forward of what I've been up to get to this point. Because I started this build in June 2022. I found this might have been the slowest build I've ever done. Oh no, Craig. Partly because doing these things takes time. When I'm trying to film it on camera, it ends up being I don't know what it ends up being. Actually, slow, let's say that. Now we're missing one of these lovely hubcaps, and who knows what else I just dropped out of my cabinet. Okay, now I saw wheels. Here we are. Freezing cold morning this morning. Whew. Right, now we have spacers. Let's just get to the next page. I mean, we don't really need instructions for this, but we may as well since we're making a video. Okay, wheels are assembled. Spacer goes on the inside here onto the nut to use up some of the thread, which is handy because also we've got fairly low profile hubs here. They're 12mm offset. It says 12mm, it doesn't look like 12mm. Looks like 0mm. Ah yes, now these are reversible wheels. I haven't spoken about that before, that's a bad example. Use this one. So this could be the outside of the wheel. I've gone with the standard, but if you reverse them, this is part of the beautiful Boom Racing Pro wheel setup. I've got other wheels from this series on other cars. They're not cheap, but my goodness, they're just so nice. So you just flip which side you put these dishes on. So you can put that on the inside and that on the outside. that just brings your wheel out. But I've gone with the standard. So that's what we're doing. So we've got the wheels assembled, put the little pin through, wheel goes on, spacer, and then the nut. So let's do that. These aren't directional, so it doesn't matter which one I do. So we'll do this guy first. Pin, entire wheel. Oh, now does this fit inside here? Yep, of course it does. They're designed to. This already has the spacer in here on the hub, so you don't need a hex nut. And you can get larger or thinner ones of these as well. They make them in 5 and 6 star setups, and these wheels are 5 star obviously. Spacer goes on. Nut goes on. And there we go. Oh, it's a lovely strong nylon nylock ring. Gee whiz. Do you know, I just noticed another feature of these BRX70 axles that I haven't noticed before. There's a steering angle limiter. Ah, that's what those little nuts are for. I haven't used them at all, which is fine because at max throw they're still good. You can limit the max steering. What a great feature. My goodness, boom racing stuff these days is just really, really nice. Now I wonder if I should use thread lock on this. I don't want to lose these pretty hubs. I think it'll stay done up. Next pin. There we go. Yeah, it's been a good build. I had some camera issues, which is why we were doing fast forward and not blow by blow for this last stage. And I did the electrics off camera, but that's going to vary depending on your setup. What I've done for the electrics on this guy is mainly I needed to use extension cables, which this kit does come with for the radio stuff, but I also had to make my own extension for the motor, because the motor's all the way at the front and the radio's all the way at the back, so you end up with quite a distance to cover. I didn't want to stretch anything or do messy routing, so I just made a longer cable loom, and that worked just fine. I must admit, being that this is leaf sprung all around, I've found a polycarbonate FJ60, that's a Toyota Land Cruiser 60 series body. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind fitting that to this. I think that'd be pretty sweet. So I'm thinking about getting hold of that and painting it up. I learnt to drive in a 60 series. It was an HZ though, diesel. But we'll also put this Defender body together because it deserves it. And in fact, I've taken so long to build this thing, which I acquired soon after the BRX02 was released, and of course now the Series 3 has been released, and I was a little embarrassed at how long this took. I didn't do their pre-sale for reviewers or influencers or whatever. I just felt a bit bad about taking so long for this. So thanks for waiting for me, AJTs and Boom Racing. I'm so sorry this has taken me so long. It's a beautiful model and it's deserving of attention. I got the 6x6 one done pretty quickly, but doing this on camera has just taken time. Oh, this is exciting. Oh man. So one of my favorite things about this little kit is that the leaf springs are, I mean obviously we haven't put all of them in. There's one missing from the rear and 2 missing from the front. These are so plush, so tunable. I wish, well I don't wish, I'm happy with this. I wish RC 4-wheel drive had actually bothered to tune their springs. They kind of left a gap in the market because their leaf springs are way too stiff. I guess that left an opportunity for Boom Racing to build this beautiful system. Alright, We'll do the winch later. Let's get a battery in this thing. I need to charge this, but let's just make sure it works. I'm sure it does. Gosh, that's made for it. Isn't that nice? Alright, we've got it worked out. We've got forward reverse, and we could put a brake in, but we won't. Now, I'll slap some power in this battery, and then we'll take it for a little maiden. How exciting. The Tekin really just works best on a 2-cell battery. It'll take a 3-cell, but you'll need to use a BEC. I mean, this is a fairly tiny little ESC. Honestly, it's less than half the size of a 1080. And it's got an attractive little LED system here, I'll show you. So it's easy enough to tune. And in fact, I think I did some of this on camera before, so I'll play that instead of this if that's the case. But switch is back here. There we go. So I'll just put it in neutral. There we go. So as you accelerate, hopefully you can see that. Yeah, the LEDs go up, and for reverse. So it's a tidy little system and a very smooth transmission. It's one of my favorite things about the BRX series. The transmission is just super smooth. Do you know what? I haven't set the endpoints. I've just realized. Let's do that. All right. So the way I do endpoints is I'll go get an endpoint on the radio, steering, you go all the way one way. Oh, I have set the endpoints actually. You go all the way and then back it off if you need to. Now we're touching the links here, so we might just back it off a shade. It's a low voltage servo, so it's not super fast. Back that off some more. That's pretty good. There we go. Right, let's take it for a drive then. The 6 problem course isn't really a fair test for this thing, but as far as a shakedown drive goes, I mean, a couple of these problems, problem 1 and 5 at least, I think will be a reasonable thing to try. I don't expect we'll actually finish any of them, but this will outline any issues in construction at least, or highlight rather. This is really hard on any crawler, this kind of crawling. Oh yeah, there we go, look at that. It's quite poised, isn't it? Oh yeah. It's not bad. Poor little car. I'll just get it over there. Oh no. Drag brake might need to be turned up a shade. Lovely smooth 20 turn 5 pole motor. Whoa. It's just sipping at the power, which is good. Something big down there. Now again, this is an inappropriate course to drive a car like this on. I just wanted to find any issues with it basically. It's such a lovely little thing. It seems a shame to get it dirty and scratch it, but I mean, you build them to drive them. We need to turn the drag brake up on this little machine, I think also. Yeah, very tame tyres. There we are. So we're really asking more than this is designed for. It's fun though. Yeah, I don't think this is possible. Whoa. Still. Problem 5 might give us something though. Maybe. There we go. Righto. Whoa. Really, it needs a slightly more tame place to drive. I am quite happy with it though. Let's try second gear. So this is a fairly tame little car, but get it in the right place, especially if you get it on some nice large boulders where breakover is not such an issue, I think you'll be surprised. Maiden run successful. Nothing broke, everything is intact. Being quite long and with small wheels and, you know, the opposite of sliders, we've got little hooks here and just reaching out to grab rocks. Clearly it's not a rock crawler so much as a scale and trail machine. And for what it is, my goodness, it is a lovely piece of kit, this. Right, I need to work out a body option now. We've got the Defender that came with it. And I also spied a, what was it? I spied an FJ60 polycarbonate body recently online, and I thought, gee whiz, I learned to drive in a 1HZ 60 series Land Cruiser. That was leaf springs all around too. I might look into that for this. I will do the Defender body once we're past winter. The maximums here, even today, the max is like 13 degrees Celsius or something. It's too cold really to get a good paint finish. So in the meantime, we will have to look at body options, but the machine now just needs its muscle winch and we'll be ready mechanically. I'm really happy with this. I've got a playlist for this thing. It's taken me 11 plus months to get to this point. You could do this in a few evenings. Filming it clearly has added time. Thanks so much for bearing with me, both you, and thank you, Agites. I will continue this series. We'll finish it by actually getting the body done. Stay tuned for that. I'll get it done as soon as I practically can. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna enjoy thinking about this model while I wait, because it's just so nice. Links are in the description for where to get this, and also the electronics I used as well are linked in there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for bearing with me on this long journey. Throw me a like and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT.